For years, Kristy McNichol was known as one of Hollywood's biggest young stars. She won major awards, became a household name, and seemed to have everything going for her. But behind that success were personal struggles, difficult choices, and secrets she kept away from the public for decades. Now, some of those long-hidden details have finally come to light, and they change how we look at her story. So, what was really happening behind the scenes? Join us as we uncover the secrets Kristy McNichol kept private for years. The child star. Kristy McNichol was born Christina Ann McNichol on September 11, 1962, in Los Angeles, California. Her childhood was shaped by family struggles long before Hollywood made her famous. Her father, James McNichol, worked as a carpenter, while her mother, Carolyn, was a registered nurse. When Kristy was only 3 years old, her parents separated. Carolyn was left to raise Kristy and her two brothers, Jimmy and Tommy. Raising 3 children as a single mother was not easy. Carolyn worked hard to provide for the family, but she also noticed something unusual in her daughter. Kristy had a natural ability to perform and was comfortable in front of people. Carolyn decided to take an active role in managing her daughter's early career. That decision would change Kristy's life. By the time Kristy was 6, she had appeared in her first television commercial. For most children, that age is about school, games, and spending time with friends. For Kristy, auditions and television work were already becoming part of everyday life. Her childhood started revolving around acting opportunities, schedules, and the expectations that came with working in entertainment. Her brother Jimmy was also interested in show business, so the family became closely connected to the entertainment industry. Kristy and Jimmy would eventually work together on several projects, including music. Their mother played an important role in helping them navigate the business while they were still young. During the early 1970s, Kristy began collecting small television roles. She appeared on popular programs including Starsky and Hutch, The Bionic Woman, Love, American Style, and The Love Boat. These appearances were not major starring roles, but they gave her valuable experience and helped people in Hollywood notice her. Her first regular television role came in 1974 when she was cast as Patricia Apple on the CBS drama Apple's Way. The series only lasted 1 season, but it gave Kristy something important: regular experience working on a television production. She was still a child, yet she was already learning how demanding professional acting could be. Then came the role that completely changed her career. In 1976, when Kristy was only 13, she was cast as Letitia Buddy Lawrence on the ABC drama Family. The series centered on the Lawrence family and dealt with serious subjects that many television programs of the time avoided. Divorce, illness, grief, family problems, and questions about identity were all part of its stories. Kristy worked with established actors including Sada Thompson, James Broderick, and Meredith Baxter. Even among such experienced performers, she quickly stood out. Her performance as Buddy felt natural and believable. She was playing a teenager dealing with the complicated process of growing up, and audiences could easily connect with the emotions she brought to the character. The role also gave Kristy the chance to work on stories that were unusually mature for a young actress. Family did not always present childhood and adolescence as simple or happy experiences. Its characters faced difficult situations, and Kristy's ability to handle those stories helped establish her as more than just another young performer. Her work was quickly recognized by the television industry. Kristy received 3 consecutive Emmy nominations for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Drama Series in 1977, 1978, and 1979. She won her first Emmy in 1977 when she was only 15 years old. She won again in 1979. Those victories made her one of the most successful young actresses in America. She was no longer simply a child who had found work in television. She had become an award-winning star while still in her teenage years. But the success came with a price. Kristy's professional life was moving much faster than her personal life. She was becoming famous at an age when most teenagers were still figuring out who they were and what they wanted to do. Instead of having a typical school experience, she had filming schedules, auditions, interviews, and public appearances. By the age of 16, Kristy McNichol was already one of the most recognizable teenage stars in the country. From the outside, everything looked incredibly successful. But behind that success was a young girl who had spent most of her childhood working in an industry that demanded more from her every year. And as Kristy's fame grew, there were parts of her life she was becoming increasingly determined to keep private. The secrets she couldn't talk about. As Kristy McNichol became more successful, her private life became harder to protect. She was no longer simply a young actress appearing on television. She was becoming a familiar face to millions of people. Her image appeared in magazines, she gave interviews, appeared on television programs, and competed on Battle of the Network stars. Everywhere she went, there was a growing chance that someone would recognize her. For an adult celebrity, that level of attention can already be difficult. For a teenager, it can be much harder to handle. Kristy's teenage years were happening in public, and there was little room for the ordinary experiences that most young people take for granted. She later spoke about missing parts of a normal teenage life. She did not have the typical school experience, and she never went to prom. While other teenagers were thinking about school events, friendships, dating, and what they might do after graduation, Kristy's schedule was filled with acting responsibilities. Auditions, filming, interviews, publicity appearances, and travel took up much of her time. And auditions themselves brought another kind of pressure. Becoming successful did not mean that every opportunity resulted in a job. Young actors still had to deal with rejection, sometimes repeatedly. Kristy had entered an industry where her appearance, talent, and ability to fit a particular role were constantly being judged. As her profile grew, the expectations surrounding her also became greater. Winning an Emmy at 15 made that pressure even more complicated. Success brought recognition, but it also created expectations. Once Kristy had established herself as an award-winning actress, people expected her to continue performing at the same level. Every new role could be judged against what she had already achieved. There was also a growing expectation that she would continue moving forward in Hollywood. She had already proven herself on Family, and the entertainment industry naturally wanted to know what she would do next. But being successful did not necessarily mean Kristy had complete control over her life. She had entered show business as a child, with adults making many of the decisions around her career. Looking back years later, she described a childhood in which she had grown up very quickly. She had been working since she was 6, and by her teenage years, she was already dealing with responsibilities that most children never faced. Her career was developing at a speed that left little space for simply being young. There was another deeply personal issue she also kept private for many years: her sexuality. Kristy was gay, but she did not feel safe publicly discussing that part of herself while she was growing up in Hollywood. She was working during the 1970s and 1980s, a period when openly LGBTQ+ performers could face serious professional and personal consequences. The entertainment industry was far less accepting than it is in many places today, and public discussion of homosexuality was often surrounded by stigma. For a young actress whose career depended heavily on public acceptance, revealing something so personal could have felt extremely risky. Kristy therefore kept that part of her life private. That secrecy added another burden to an already demanding childhood. She was expected to be open with audiences about her performances, her career, and her experiences as a young star, while an important part of her personal identity remained something she could not openly discuss. This makes some of the material from Family especially interesting. The series was willing to discuss subjects that were considered controversial for television at the time. It dealt with family problems, personal struggles, identity, and other difficult issues that many shows avoided. The series even included a storyline involving a gay character. For Kristy, those stories may have had a personal significance, although it is important not to assume exactly what she felt about individual episodes. What is clear is that she was working on a show willing to discuss subjects connected to identity, while she was privately dealing with questions about her own life. Her career was also expanding beyond acting. In 1978, Kristy and her brother Jimmy released an album together through RCA Records. The siblings promoted the project at Studio 54 and appeared together on the Carpenter's television special, A Christmas Portrait. On the surface, this looked like another exciting opportunity. Kristy was acting, recording music, appearing on television, and meeting audiences in different parts of the entertainment industry. But each new commitment also meant more time spent working. There was a pattern developing. The more successful Kristy became, the more demands were placed on her. Her career was no longer limited to filming Family. She had promotional obligations, interviews, music projects, television appearances, and other responsibilities. This is where the darker side of her story begins to emerge. But it is important to separate fact from speculation. Over the years, celebrity stories often become filled with rumors, especially when someone suddenly steps away from Hollywood. Kristy's story does not need those rumors to be interesting. The confirmed details are already revealing. She entered show business as a child. Her mother helped manage her career. She spent her teenage years working while much of her personal life remained private. She became famous before reaching adulthood and was expected to maintain that success. To audiences, Kristy McNichol appeared confident, talented, and successful. But the public only saw the part of her life that was presented through television, magazines, interviews, and publicity. They could not see the private questions she was dealing with or the emotional pressure that came with growing up in such a demanding environment. And eventually, all that pressure would become impossible for her to keep carrying quietly. Hollywood got what it wanted. Leaving family could have been a risky move for Kristy McNichol. She had become closely associated with Buddy Lawrence, the character that made her famous, and the challenge now was proving she could succeed as an adult actress. Instead of slowing down, however, Kristy's career appeared to move even faster. She had already started working in films before family ended. In 1978, she appeared in The End alongside Burt Reynolds and Sally Field. That same year, she gave a strong performance in the television film Summer of My German Soldier, playing a young Jewish girl who secretly protects a German prisoner during World War II. The role showed that she could handle serious material outside the weekly television format. Then came Little Darlings in 1980. Kristy played Angel Bright, a tough and street-smart teenager opposite Tatum O'Neal. The film followed two girls at summer camp who make a bet about which of them will lose her virginity first. It was controversial because of its subject matter and the age of its characters, but it became a commercial success, earning about $34.3 million domestically. Kristy had reportedly been given the first choice between the two leading roles and selected Angel. It was an important decision because the character was very different from Buddy on Family. Angel was more outspoken and confident, allowing Kristy to show audiences another side of her acting. Her performance helped confirm that she was not simply a former child star trying to find work. She could carry a major movie and hold her own alongside another highly regarded young actress. In 1980, she also won a People's Choice Award for Favorite Young Motion Picture Actress. For a while, everything seemed to be going exactly right. In 1981, Kristy appeared in The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia, followed by Neil Simon's Only When I Laugh. The second film gave her another important opportunity to show her dramatic ability, and she received a Golden Globe nomination for Best Supporting Actress. She was still very young, but she had already collected major television awards, successful movies, and recognition from the film industry. It was reasonable to believe that even bigger opportunities were ahead. But while her professional life looked successful, her private life was becoming increasingly difficult. Kristy had spent almost her entire childhood working. She had been auditioning since she was 6, became famous during her early teens, and was expected to continue performing at a high level as she grew older. There was also very little privacy. Her face was familiar to audiences, and her personal life attracted attention along with her career. Years of that pressure eventually began affecting her emotionally. During the filming of Just the Way You Are in France in 1982, Kristy struggled badly. She later described having difficulty sleeping, crying frequently, and feeling overwhelmed. The problems were not connected to one single event. Instead, she explained that years of pressure had built up until she could no longer handle everything. Her condition became serious enough that production was temporarily interrupted. The episode later became the subject of speculation, including suggestions that drugs had caused her problems. Kristy rejected that explanation. She said the pressure of her career and personal circumstances was enough to cause what happened. That distinction matters because many celebrity stories from this period became exaggerated over time. Just the Way You Are was eventually completed and released in 1984, but the experience changed the direction of Kristy's career. She could no longer simply return to Hollywood and continue as though nothing had happened. the industry had its own concerns. Reports about her health and reliability made some studios more cautious, while the projects being offered to her were not always as prominent as the roles she had received earlier in her career. She continued working, but the momentum had changed. Kristy appeared in projects including Dream Lover and Women of Valor in 1986. In 1988, she appeared in You Can't Hurry Love and Two Moon Junction. These roles kept her active, but they did not return her to the position she had occupied only a few years earlier. That change was especially striking because Kristy had once been one of the biggest young stars on American television. She had won Emmys as a teenager, carried a successful film such as Little Darlings, and earned a Golden Globe nomination. Now, she was taking smaller opportunities while dealing with problems that the public had only partly understood. The important point is that her career did not collapse because she suddenly lost her talent. Her earlier work had already established how capable she was. Instead, years of intense pressure, followed by her emotional breakdown in France, changed what she could realistically handle and how Hollywood viewed her. And just when it seemed Kristy's career might be over, television would give her another unexpected opportunity. The diagnosis she kept private. By 1988, Kristy McNichol had already experienced several major changes in her career. She had gone from being one of television's most successful young actresses to dealing with the emotional breakdown that interrupted the filming of Just the Way You Are. Her film career continued, but it never quite returned to the level it had reached in the early 1980s. Then television gave her another opportunity. In 1988, Kristy joined the cast of Empty Nest, a sitcom connected to the hugely popular The Golden Girls. The series centered on Dr. Harry Weston, played by Richard Mulligan, a widowed doctor living with his two adult daughters. Kristy played Barbara Weston, the younger daughter, who worked as a police officer. Barbara was very different from the vulnerable teenage characters Kristy had played earlier in her career. She was independent, confident, outspoken, and physically tough. The role gave Kristy an opportunity to show a different side of herself while also returning to the kind of regular television work that had made her famous. For Kristy, landing a major television role again was significant. The previous few years had been difficult, and Empty Nest offered something she had not had for a while: stability. The show also benefited from its connection to the Golden Girls. It was introduced through a backdoor pilot in an episode of the original series and later became its own successful sitcom. Empty Nest developed its own audience and remained on the air for several years. From the outside, Kristy's career seemed to be settling down. She had a regular role, appeared on television every week, and was once again part of a popular series. Fans who remembered her from Family could see her regularly. After everything that had happened during the previous decade, it looked like Kristy had found a comfortable second chapter in television. But there was more happening privately than viewers knew. The fact that she was working regularly did not mean that all of the problems she had experienced earlier in life had disappeared. Kristy had spent years dealing with intense professional pressure, and her emotional health remained an important issue. Then, in 1992, she left Empty Nest midway through its 5th season. At the time, viewers were not given the full story. Her sudden departure naturally led to questions, especially because she had been an important part of the show. There was no major public announcement explaining everything immediately, leaving fans to wonder why she had decided to walk away. 3 years later, Kristy returned briefly for the series finale in 1995. It was during this period that more information about her decision became public. Kristy had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. The diagnosis helped explain some of the emotional struggles she had experienced throughout her life. Bipolar disorder can involve significant changes in mood and energy, and managing it can require treatment, stability, and careful attention to one's daily routine. For Kristy, continuing a demanding television schedule was no longer the most important thing. She had to make a choice between maintaining a regular acting career and taking care of her health. She chose her health. That decision was particularly difficult because mental health was discussed very differently in the early 1990s. There was still considerable stigma around psychiatric diagnoses, and many people did not understand conditions such as bipolar disorder. Public figures often had even more reason to keep such information private because of fears that it could affect their careers. Kristy had already experienced how quickly Hollywood could change its view of an actor. After her breakdown during the filming of Just the Way You Are, questions about her reliability had affected her career. Revealing another personal struggle could have created even more unwanted attention. Instead, she eventually spoke openly about the diagnosis and used it to explain why she had needed to step away. There is also an important difference between saying someone disappeared and understanding what actually happened. Kristy did not simply vanish without explanation. She gradually reduced her work and made choices that allowed her to focus more on her personal life. She continued doing some acting after leaving Empty Nest. Her later work included voice roles in animated projects such as Extreme Ghostbusters in 1997 and Invasion America in 1998. Those appearances were much less demanding than maintaining a regular live-action television role. They also allowed her to continue using her acting skills without returning to the intense schedule that had become difficult for her. Eventually, even those appearances became rare. For fans who had grown up watching Kristy on Family, it may have seemed strange to see such a successful actress gradually disappear from television, but the reality was more straightforward. She had reached a point where acting was no longer something she needed to organize her entire life around. Her decision was not simply about giving up a career. It was about gaining control over her life after spending most of her childhood and young adulthood working in front of cameras. The diagnosis gave Kristy another piece of information about herself, but it did not have to define the rest of her life. She could step away from television, focus on her well-being, and decide what she wanted her future to look like. And after leaving Hollywood behind, Kristy was finally ready to build a life that had very little to do with fame. It was finally time to be myself. By 2001, Kristy McNichol had reached a point that would have been difficult to imagine when she was a child actress. She had spent almost her entire life in entertainment, but she no longer wanted acting to determine how she lived. At 38, Kristy officially announced her retirement from acting. The announcement came through her publicist and was remarkably simple. There was no dramatic scandal, no major confrontation with Hollywood, and no publicity campaign designed to attract attention. She was simply making a personal decision about what she wanted from the rest of her life. Kristy explained that it was finally time for her to take on the most important role of all, being herself. That statement carried a lot of meaning considering how early her career had started. She had entered show business when she was only 6 years old. By her teenage years, she was already an Emmy-winning actress. She had spent years filming television shows, making movies, giving interviews, attending public events, and living according to professional schedules. For nearly 25 years, acting had been a major part of her identity. Now she wanted something different. Retirement did not mean that Kristy suddenly had nothing to do. In many ways, it gave her the opportunity to explore interests that had been difficult to pursue while she was working constantly. One of those interests was teaching. After leaving acting, Kristy taught acting at a private school in Los Angeles. Instead of being the person standing in front of a camera, she could now help young performers develop their own skills. Her experience gave her plenty of lessons to share. She knew what auditions were like, understood the pressure of working as a young actor, and had experienced the demands of professional television and film firsthand. Teaching also allowed her to remain connected to acting without having to return to the entertainment industry's intense schedule. She also spent more time on other parts of life. Kristy traveled, became involved in charity work, and enjoyed having greater control over her time. After growing up with schedules that were largely determined by productions, auditions, and publicity commitments, having an ordinary day became something valuable. She could decide where to go, what to do, and how much time to spend on different interests. Then, years later, another passion became important in her life. Music had been part of Kristy's career before. She had recorded an album with her brother Jimmy when she was a teenager, but her later relationship with music was different. This time, she was not recording an album because a record company wanted another project from her. She was doing it because she enjoyed singing. In 2011, Kristy enrolled in the music program at Los Angeles Valley College. She joined the school's choir and became involved in the musical community there. That decision says a lot about how different her life had become. When she was young, music had been another part of a busy entertainment career. As an adult, singing could simply be something she enjoyed. She did not have to worry about ratings, box office numbers, reviews, or whether a performance would lead to another job. She was participating because she wanted to. Kristy also became involved with the Los Angeles Valley College Foundation and helped support the school's music program. She spoke positively about the value of music for young people and wanted to help make sure students had opportunities to study and participate in it. Her connection to music therefore became more than a personal hobby. It became another way for her to contribute without returning to the celebrity lifestyle she had left behind. Her personal life was also much quieter. Kristy enjoyed traveling, including trips to Hawaii, spending time with her dogs, and living away from the constant attention that had followed her since childhood. Her miniature dachshunds became part of that peaceful routine. For someone who had spent years being recognized everywhere she went, privacy was clearly something she valued. She did not completely reject the idea of acting forever. In later conversations, she left open the possibility that she might return to acting one day. But there was an important difference between being open to acting again and actively pursuing a Hollywood comeback. She was not looking to rebuild the career she had walked away from. By this point, she had already learned that happiness did not have to come from being on television. She could teach, sing, travel, help others, spend time with people she cared about, and simply enjoy her everyday life. That was a major change for someone who had spent childhood being told where she needed to be and what she needed to do next. For years, audiences had known Kristy McNichol as Buddy from Family, Angel from Little Darlings, Barbara from Empty Nest, and the young actress who seemed destined for an enormous Hollywood career. But away from the cameras, she was building something very different. She was building a life where acting was no longer the center of everything. And then, at the age of 50, Kristy made another deeply personal decision that finally explained one of the biggest secrets she had kept from the public for decades. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications.